Hey, Thomson, you want to do a show?
Screw it. Why not?
So, have you seen Madshow? Have you ever seen Madshow? Do you know about Madshow? You seen Madshow? Have you seen Madshow? Have you seen Madshow? You know the Madshow?
I was thinking about something recently, which is that hypothetically, the whole universe, the whole world as we know it, could have been created yesterday with all of our memories, all of our thoughts, all of our etc. in it, and we wouldn't know. And I don't think we'd be able to prove that it wasn't, or more accurately, that it was created yesterday. And I think that's really interesting, but also really problematic from like a philosophical perspective, because if that's true, if the world was created, if the whole universe was created yesterday, there wouldn't really be any point to like any archaeology or history at all, because none of it actually happened.
Then how did it get there?
It was just poof. It just got created yesterday. And the only reason we don't remember it happening yesterday is because when it got created with all our memories the way they are.
So it ends every time we go to sleep?
What I'm saying is, every time we wake up, we know that the universe could have been created, like, when we were asleep. That the whole universe.
Then why are we
could have
older
started.
than we were yesterday? And why do we have memory?
We only remember ourselves as being older than we were yesterday. And we only remember ourselves that way because we got created that way. So we would still continue to age as time went forward from that point, assuming that the universe didn't like restart later on. But what I'm saying is, if the universe restarted yesterday, the reason we look the way we do is because we were created that way, with memories of aging that way yesterday.
Well, maybe. I mean, in a world that has flat earthers, I've heard worse. Well, that was fun. Hello, friends and neighbors, listeners, watchers, and viewers, etc. So, between 40 and 45 years old, everybody is supposed to start getting colonoscopies. Because we now have a 50% chance of getting colon cancer in our lives as Americans, for many reasons. And so that's the process that's happening, and my God, the first day. So the process, and you shouldn't be freaked out about this, it's just a thing that you have to do. Not a good idea. It begins with a cleanse of your whole system from entrance to exit, shall we say. And you have to drink this 6-ounce bottle of stuff cut with water relatively quickly. It took me, I think, 20 minutes to get it down. And then over the next hour, you drink 2 16-ounce things of water. And tick, 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 tick. But anyways, as they say, the first part is the worst part. And so tomorrow I'll be knocked out, and we'll let you know how that goes too. But, oh, my goodness. This was... Whew. If I'd had a ping pong ball anywhere near the area, it would have gone 200 yards. Easy. I mean, the velocity was Niagara-like. You were saying about Terry Saka? That's your guy?
I suppose it is.
Gordy Howe.
Explain. Give me your argument.
Gordy plays till he's 52. 20 years in a row, he's in the top 3 scorers in the league. Member of the most productive line in hockey history. About 4 cups.
What about Gretzky? He won 4. Broke all of house records. What about him?
Yeah, I guess he did win 4. Yeah, I like Gretzky. But Gretzky had protection.
Well, yeah, he had pretty good blocks. Okay.
I mean, the league wouldn't let anybody mess with him.
On or off the ice?
On the ice.
Wait, you just weren't allowed to check the guts?
Not really, no. I actually have heard from other players say that Gretzky used to skate by the bench and go, nah, you can't, you guys can't touch me, you can't touch me. Like really snark like that, so.
That sounds very good of him.
His talent is undeniable, he's amazing. But he had a lot of help. So, who are the celebrities that your generation cares about that we should talk about to build the buzz, to build the Riz, to make it Fleek Sigma Chad Riz game?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm checking my Riz game on Fleek, y'all. Hella Sigma, bruh. Look, unstable camera, like tick-tocking it, rocking it.
Please stop.
Oh, no, seriously, who are the celebrities we should care about? Us old farts.
I don't know. Kendrick. He's pretty popular. Seems important.
People still like Queen?
What?
People still like Queen?
Probably. I mean, they made some pretty good stuff. I don't think that their music's going to be dying out anytime soon. Bohemian Rhapsody is, I think, the single most listened to song in the 70s. Which is surprising, considering the 70s does have a lot of hits, but I guess Bohemian Rhapsody is just the one that's like the most enduring. It is a really good song. It might have the best guitar solo ever, honestly. Was the music good?
Some of it was, some of it was crap, same as it always is. You like some stuff then, you learn to like some stuff from then later.
What are the highlights? Yeah, what's the highlight reel?
The highlights. Oh, the 80s highlights.
What's the 80s Spotify Wrapped?
Spotify. We would actually pay our artists, so it would be different than
Imagine.
Spotify. Although even then it wasn't much. When Madonna set up Maverick Records, I think she got 6 cents per album sold on a $15 CD.
Thankfully, she sold a lot of albums.
Yeah, but 6 cents, and that was like the best deal anybody had in the whole industry. It just made everybody else realize how badly they were getting screwed.
Yeah.
So the punk rockers were very anti that and aware of that. It's okay to make money, but you got to watch out who you're making it for. So, Thomson, tell us all about these music quests that you've been doing. What's that all about? As we enjoy some delicious, blinding light, delicious Clover Stornetta eggnog. Sponsor us! We will accept payment in eggnog or other dairy products, Clover Stornetta.
Yeah, that's in my
We're blatant, we're shameless whores. Absolutely.
Okay, no, you don't need to say that. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. I'm more of a slut than a whore. Who needs to commercialize what you love what you do and never work a day in your life?
Come on. Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
No, I believe you, but come on. Really? Is this the time?
You
is
pay
this
for
the
this.
place?
Not you, but you would.
No, you wouldn't.
Come on.
No, you wouldn't.
Woo!
No, you better not.
Come on, tell us about the music quest. So, enough
music.
about my glorious this and
Glorious.
about some of that.
Well, it's really just one quest. There's not multiple. I don't know why you pluralized it. Basically, the way it started was I was literally just scrolling YouTube and got recommended a video by the official Rate Your Music YouTube channel that was just the top 100 albums of all time. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I recognize one of those covers. So I clicked on it and watched it. I was like, wow, I don't know what any of that is. Who the hell is Radiohead? Okay, I knew who Radiohead was, but who the hell is Aphex Twin? Who the hell is Death Grips? So I was like, maybe this is a new idea of something that I do. And around the same time, I was also listening to a ton of Nirvana, so I was like, I should probably listen to a full album of theirs. It's a bit weird to just play like 6 songs over and over. So I started it by listening to all of In Utero and then all of Nevermind. And I was like, okay, that's pretty fun. What if I did it with Eminem? Because I already listened to a ton of Eminem. And then I listened to all of the Marshall Mathers LP1 and LP2. And also, in the middle of that, I listened to all of Violator by Depeche Mode just for fun. Because I was feeling a bit goofy that day. But, basically, by the time I had listened to those 5, I had composite, from a bunch of different sources, mainly Rate Your Music, but from a bunch of different sources, kind of assembled a list. And that has only expanded. I made a mixtape section, I made a live album section, I made a whole second 100 past the first 100. It's gonna take me, I don't even know how long to get through all of them. But
every one of them will go better with a nice mug of Clover Stornetta eggnog. Sponsor us! Go on.
Okay, pal.
Sorry, in showbiz we call that product placement.
Wow, that sure was a product placement.
We can't get enough of Clover Stornetta eggnog, right, Thomson? Cheers. Preach.
Or just pretend we're sponsored by them. No, that probably...
That would be what Wesley Willis used to do.
Hmm?
You know Wesley Willis? I knew Wesley Willis. No, I knew Wesley Willis. I had the privilege of being headbutted square in the forehead by that dude.
Would you believe me if I told you this is the first time he told me about someone in the context of, I got the privilege of being headbutted by this person?
Oh, yeah. Say rah! Say rah! If you knew Wesley, you'd know what I was talking about. Say rah! Rah!
Okay, maybe elaborate.
Diet Pepsi. Uh-huh. He gave me a shot of Paletticin and he is calming me down. Wesley Willis was a artist from Chicago in the early 90s who decided to put out an album on his own of 30 songs. Every single one of them with the exact same music done by a Casio keyboard. Who could ever forget the Wesley Willis hit that went like this? And
every song was that?
Yes, and then he would just freestyle over the top, and then he would sing a chorus, and it was usually about shows he went to, the police, the police. I went to see the Police concert at Soldier Field. There were 22,000 people in attendance. It was a good show. They put on a very hard-working performance. After the show, the band met many members of the audience. The police! And then he'd sing the chorus, and then at the end, he would always have a product placement. So he'd be like, Taco Bell, make a run for the border! No one ever sponsored him. He just put that stuff on the end just because he thought that's what you should do.
I'm guessing it didn't
get
very much distribution.
Well, you're wrong. He became an absolute underground sensation. He put out, I think, 30 albums. He went on tour with Urge Overkill, one of the big bands of the period. He got signed to American Records, I believe. And then he died. Because he was a very sick guy. But he... when I met him, he hit me up for $12 for the bus to Omaha. And if he liked you, he headbutted you.
Strange fellow.
Wesley Willis, rest in peace. We remember.
Dude, I was watching my friends recently play a video game, but I couldn't see what they were playing, and they looked so goofy. People always make the silliest faces when they're playing video games.
I think they make silly faces when they're playing video games. You should see what they look like when they're masturbating. You bring up chat roulette and you'll be like, oh, I guess there really are 42 muscles in the human face.
Yo, man. Yo, you want some of this?
What you got? What
You want some stuff? Man,
What you got?
I got this stuff uncut on Sunday. Fresh. Raw dog.
Oh,
Dude, you know I got
gotta
that
tell
clerical shit. Yeah,
You got that.
evangelical. Oh, yeah, church choirs.
What do you
I got a whole assortment, man.
What sex? What sex?
Dude, a whole... Well, let's see, man. I got some pretty tasty stuff from the... Wait, what do we got here? I got that Presbyterian joint, man.
That's pretty
You want some
tempting, that's pretty
Presbyterian?
What else you got? What else you got? I want to hear the full selection.
I got some good Baptist stuff, but you can't dance to it.
Yeah. I don't
You want
know
some of that
much Baptist.
Lutheran? I got that
Lutheran
no, I ain't even step on it, man. It ain't even Methodist.
Episcopal?
Well, sure, of course, but you got to buy a cup of coffee to get it.
Yeah. It's too expensive. What
Hey,
about?
what you want, man? What you want?
I don't know. I'll take a few Presbyterians, I guess.
All right, man. All right, bet.
So what were the clicks back in the 80s?
Well, everybody was in a click back in the 80s. It's what made John Hughes movies possible. Your jocks, your nerds, your goths, your punks, your metalheads, band geeks, theater geeks. Depends on the age, what clique you're in. Same as it is now, they just got different names.
Was that
Generation wants to pretend they're inventing something new when they're just recycling the same old stuff.
was that like just like how it was the movies?
John Hughes movies are actually an incredibly accurate portrait of junior high / high school life in the 80s. Yeah, they really are. Welcome back to History Corner. I am John, artist, historian, and philosopher, and I will be preventing myself from going too long-winded by running this little 5-minute timer. So you won't get the whole story because it would take a lot of time, which is ironic considering we're talking about history, which is definitively a lot of time. Thomson, what's your question for this week?
I got a good one for you this time. So for a lot of just Europe as a whole's history, it is England and France fighting each other, duking it out. A lot of wars fought between them, either with both of them on respective sides with other powers, or just them straight up fighting each other without even anybody else involved. But nowadays, and at least since like World War II, they don't really attack each other. They're chill with each other. So what changed? What was the point of reversal that made England and France not be so hostile towards each other?
Okay, first of all, France and England constitute Western Europe and do not constitute Europe as a whole, which is a huge and dynamic place for thousands of years. But since we're just talking about the French and British relationship, let's begin. Bing. France and Britain had a lot of beef going back for a very long time because until the Reformation and Henry VIII's acceptance and creation, well, instigating the English Reformation, they were all Catholics, which meant they were all playing the same Pope game. They were all working for the same thrones, and they were relentlessly intermarrying with each other because that was how diplomacy basically worked. It was built around trading daughters and trading sons and marrying together, which is ironically exactly what the First Nations people were doing in North America before they had even been discovered. That was totally normal. That's why Canada, you have different attitudes. We'll put a pin in that. Getting back to Europe. When the French Revolution happened, things changed enormously. First of all, the French and Spanish had been beefing with each other, and sort of both working to undermine the new Protestant England. the French Revolution screwed all of that up. And all of a sudden, the aristocrats who had been intermarrying with the English were getting their heads chopped off en masse, and the English aristocracy suddenly felt very sympathetic to the French. And so you get the Scarlet Pimpernel stories, and they'll like smuggle out this rich guy from France because, oh, rich people shouldn't have their heads cut off. We do that to peasants. They don't do that to us. That begins the change. Then Napoleon comes in, and you get democracy, and the British are not cool with that because they're a monarchy. And so he goes on a rampage. They capture him, throw him in Elba. He escapes. He goes on another rampage, Waterloo, the end. At that point, because England is on an island, they can just sort of mess around in Europe when they feel like it. And they're much more, by this point, they started to become much more concerned with global affairs and controlling the oceans. So basically, as long as the French stayed in Europe, the British were sort of okay with them just being over there, because the British were already off exploring the New World and going to India. And, 1745, they already had India. The British Empire was already huge by the time Napoleon showed up. So it just sort of, Western Europe just got smaller and not as important to the British as it had been, say, under Henry V. And they also weren't in service of the Pope anymore, so they didn't have to be that concerned. It was like, those were over there. They were to do that Catholic thing in Europe. We'll do the Protestant thing over here, and we'll find, North America, India, parts of Africa. Although they didn't really get into Africa until the late 1800s. But then also so did the French, and there was the rush for Africa, which happens in the 1880s, 1890s. They show up down there. The world just got bigger. They didn't have to fight each other as much. They started seeing other people that they could fight, and they realized that they were more alike than different. And Eastern Europe finally got on track and showed up and became a bigger threat. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Ottomans, the Turks in the Eastern Mediterranean. There were just bigger players to worry about. And of course, the French had that disastrous invasion with Russia, so now everybody's looking over there, thinking, oh my God, these guys have finally come out of the Middle Ages. Maybe we got to consider them. The world just got bigger and more complicated. And the French and the British, they've always had more in common than they've had difference. Neither one of them wants to admit that. For hundreds of years, in fact, all the royalty in England spoke French and were effectively run by the French. So the diplomatic languages, they're so tight for so long. And before that, they were Celts. So I think that really they just stopped beefing because they realized that they had more in common than they had difference. And the world was a much bigger place than just Western Europe, or even just the Catholic Protestant divide. Took like 200 years to work out the holy wars on that one. But that was it. By World War II, they were just worried about what was coming from the East, which would have been Germany and then Russia. And their relationships with both of those countries is a lot worse than their relationship ever was with each other. Even in the 100 Years' War, you got captured and you were a rich guy from France, the British captured you, you'd get returned. You just trade officers. So even in their worst moments, they were still kind of friendly. That's all we have time for. And we will see you again in another time. Well, colonoscopy is over, and I am less of a man because of it. I am less by 2 polyps, one of each kind, and I am glad to be less of a man by 2 polyps, because you don't want that. You don't need that shit. No, really, in all seriousness, it was remarkably easy. The toughest part was the second day cleansing, which was, I don't know, it was more of like if day 1 was some sort of bizarre alien-esque explosion of Niagara, day 2 was basically like one of those water park tube rides. It was just whoosh. And I found my coin collection when I was a kid, but don't know how I got in there. It's going to need a wash, so I'm making money on the deal. The procedure itself, basically an alien abduction. You just go in, roll over on your left side, look at the clock, and then you're in recovery. You've lost time, something was up in your ass, and there's a happy ending because you survived the encounter. And I did, and I'm cancer-free for at least 3 hours in that part of my body. Anyways, so that's a win. And if you're 45 or over, you have to say, I'm Generation X, and I need a colonoscopy. Because you do. So, happy days, happy ending. And, got the doctor's number. I don't know if he's going to call me, but, you can hope, right? Hey, Thomson, do you remember Coburg, Ontario?
Not a ton. Vaguely. Why?
Remember I took you and showed you all the lawn bowling?
Yeah?
Up there. Told the story of when my mom and I came up to Coburg from Toronto on our way to Ottawa.
Yeah?
Just like we did. We went to the same motel too. And it was all still there, which was nice. Well, this is what we got here in San Francisco. This is the San Francisco Lawn Bowling Club. And it is the oldest lawn bowling club, I believe, in the entire United States. I know it's certainly the oldest west of the Mississippi. And you remember when we took a course here? Like a little one-day class on how to lawn bowl?
Not really, no.
I don't know what it is about this. I think it's that memory that I got up in Coburg coming through the night. Where is everybody in town? And there's nobody around, and the fog was coming in off Lake Ontario, and it made the lights ghostly glow, and we zeroed in on them, and then there was the whole town, all gathered around the lawn bowling courts, just all being Canadians together, and it was beautiful. Looking right out over the Ontario Lake there. We got this here, and how cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
This is my son, Thomson. He's half of this show. He makes things happen, and he's better than he wants to admit he is. But he's a teenager, and that's sort of normal. They get doubts and questions and all that. But I love him more than anything in the world. No matter how hard he makes it sometimes. That's teenagers, that's kids, that's family. That's the way it works. What do you think about all that, Thomson?
I think the moon is looking pretty nice tonight. I wonder what it's going to tell us.
Okay, what did it say?
I don't fucking know.
My son and I both touched a piece of the moon that came back on one of the Apollo missions, didn't we?
That is true. I won a two truths and a lie off of that. Because I touched a piece of the moon as one of them, and everyone picked it. Because like, there's no way you've touched the moon. Because I didn't include the fact that it was a piece of. I just said the moon.
Well, it is the moon.
That's
If you cut your finger off and I touch it, that's still touching you.
I don't want to think about that.
No, especially not if it was the finger that touched the moon.
He did call.